All right. First thing, can I get you to state your name and age and
Okay.
place of birth?
My name is Ruth A.G. Williams. A.G. is my maiden name, and I use that for my middle name. I was born, Mama say I was born December the 14th, 1927, and my birth certificate says that I was born at 2:30 on the afternoon of December the 14th, 1927. I was born in Marengo County at a little place called Shiloh, and I lived there and went to school. The little elementary school, which was about 2 miles from where we lived in the country. We had to walk to school. And when I got to the ninth grade, there was no school there for black children. So my mother sent me to Selma University. I finished Selma University High School in 1947. And the curriculum included 2 years of college for teachers, and it's a seminary for men ministers who wanted to pursue further studies in the ministry. So, but after the 2 years, I went to Alabama State. It was Alabama State College in Montgomery. I went there and got my BS degree. I got my BS degree in education in 1960. But by this time, I had got married. I got married January the 19, well, ain't that something I forgot when I got married? Anyway, I got married and I stayed out a long time, but I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree. And by this time, we were living in Evergreen after we got married. I got married January the 19th, 1951 in Shiloh, Alabama. Came to Evergreen to live.
Okay.
We lived there for a while. My husband was called to pastor a church in Brewton, Alabama, Second St. Salome. And we were there for about 7 years. While we were there, I taught school in Crestview, Florida. And I'd come, it's 47 miles from Brewton to Crestview, where I was teaching. And after church on Sunday afternoon, I would take the 4 children and we'd go 47 miles to Crestview. We'd stay there for me to work, teach school during the week. And my husband would come sometimes in the middle of the week. So we stayed, and he preached at Second St. Salome. So he got a call to come to Pascagoula, to Moss Point, Mississippi, to pastor the First Baptist Church of Moss Point. And I resigned that teaching position in Crestview, Florida, to go with him to Moss Point to pastor the church. When I went to teach in Florida, I had to have what the teacher's exam to get my tenure, and the score was at least 500. So when my test result came back, my principal informed me, and I got a letter that I made 521 on the score. So I had a tenure now to teach in Florida. But I got a call. My husband got a call to pass the First Baptist Church in Moss Point, and he accepted the call. And I told my principal that I was leaving, I wasn't going to be there anymore. And he told me, he said, "Now, Miss Williams, you bought a house over there on that hill, and you got what you call those trees that grow in Florida?" He said, "You got palm trees growing on your yard, because I seen them." And I told him, I said, "Now, I don't care what's growing over there, growing on that lot over there. My husband has been called to Mississippi, and I'm going with him." I wasn't sassy. That's just what I told him. And I never regretted it. He stayed there 33 years as pastor of that church. And during those years, I taught school until I retired. And he was diagnosed lung cancer, stage 4. One Sunday morning, he got up to preach. He got real sick, and he was taken to Singing River Hospital. And he was diagnosed as cancer, lung cancer, stage 4, and he was advised to retire, which he did immediately. And Evergreen, Alabama was his home. And he wanted to come back to Evergreen to live the rest of his life. And he did live 2 years after that, but he passed away. And I'm still here. We have 4 grown children, 3 daughters and 1 son, maybe 9, 10 grandchildren, and that many great-grandchildren. So I live alone, and I'm doing quite well. I'm not a well woman myself. I'm 92 years old, but I'm getting along fine. I don't have to have that daily routine of people coming from the home health care. I don't need that kind of care. I live in a big house, and I only occupy a part of the house, and I can keep that up real good. And when it needs general cleaning, the girls will come in and do a good cleaning, and it lasts a long time. So I'm happy, but I know that I'm an old woman, and I am a sick woman. I have a pacemaker. I have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and you name it, I just have it. But I've always been under good doctors, and I'm doing well. What else do you want me to say?
Well, let me ask you a few questions.
Okay.
And some of it will touch on some of the things that you already covered, because although you say you have some ailments, you are 93.
92.
92 years old.
Yeah.
So you got something that a lot of people don't have that
Right.
afforded you the ability to
Right.
make the 92
All
years
the
old.
doctors that I go to, they really don't, according to their, that whatever their studies were, medical studies, they don't see how I'm living with all of the ailments that I have. But I count the Lord, that's what He does, and
Right.
He can't do it, that doctors can't do.
Exactly. So in asking these questions, maybe we'll get a glimpse into some of
Okay.
how you're able to sustain
Okay.
and been able to sustain all this time. So, first question, can you give me a brief description of life as a child for you?
Life as a child, I would say I had a good life as a child. I was born of 16, 15 siblings, 9 brothers, and it was 7 of us girls. And life was good. Lived on a big farm. I worked in the field. And by the time I came along, I had older brothers and sisters who were married and had children as old as I was. And my home life was very good. My parents were very supportive. They were very protective, especially, my father, because he was born of a 16-year-old plantation cook in 1879, and he was an only child. And when his mother came up pregnant, 16, nobody knew who the father was. But when he was born with blue eyes and curly hair, they knew who his father was. It was a white man, and it was the man that was my father's father did not own the plantation. His brother was the owner of the plantation. And so my grandparents raised him. And my mother was the product of a slave mother. My grandmother, my mother told me that my grandmother walked from North Carolina driving cows to Alabama, back in the day, in the 1800s. So I had a good life. I had a good life, I'd say. But I had to work in the field. And my father told us he said, now, if y'all want to go to college, I'll send you to college. Pick cotton, gin cotton. He had money. And I said, now this is my last field work. I ain't gonna work in the field. I ain't gonna marry nobody and go from this plantation to another, which is what my older sister and brother did. But I didn't. I ain't working no field. But I worked before I didn't go in the field. 'Cause that wasn't the end for me. That wasn't the end. It taught us a good life, was to love the Lord, be obedient. They read the Bible to us and prayed for us. As we would kneel around the fireplace at night, they read the Bible, explain it as far as they knew how to explain it. My life was not as regular.
Okay. Question number 2. what has your diet been like through the years?
My diet has been, I eat, I don't have special things that I eat. I like anything that's edible. Now, I can eat anything. And right now, with my health condition like it is, I can't eat anything. I go to meetings, they have meetings, so many meetings, town meetings, I say, and we can go to those meetings, and they would hand out, you would say what your problem was, and they would give a menu of what you needed to eat. And so I eat that way now. I don't eat like I wish I could. We raise potatoes. I could bake a potato, eat potatoes. We had a smokehouse, kill hogs, hang that meat up in there smoking. I can't eat that. I can't eat like that anymore. I eat one strip of bacon in the morning, and that's all I eat. That was the time I could eat all the bacon I wanted to eat, but I can't eat that now. It smells good, but I can't eat it.
Now, one of my reasons for asking about your diet, a lot of people today, they eating a lot of processed food.
Yeah.
And they getting away from like the things that you probably ate coming up. A lot of stuff, because your family did some sharecropping, I'm assuming, or you said your father worked on the plantation, or your grandfather?
My father owned the plantation that after he got married, he bought the plantation.
Okay.
And his white father and grandfather and uncle, they helped him. They helped him to buy acreage, and he had a big farm that he owned when he died. And they loved him all the way. And Mama said that when they got married in 1900, they called it a double horse wagon, where it took 2 horses to pull the wagon. They had that loaded down with furniture, all kind of furniture, sewing machine, beds, springs, mattresses, just everything that was needed to keep a house. His parents, white people sent that. His father's, father sent that for them to get along. And they saw to his getting along all the while. Because we used to sing coming out of the field, and we could be heard all over the community singing. So my father was coming from the store one day, and there was a white couple, old white couple lived on the hill from us. And she saw Daddy coming by. She said, Clint, my daddy's name was Clint. Said, come here, I got an organ here. You need this organ so those children can play the organ and sing. And we got my brother hitched up the wagon and went and got that organ. And I have several of my sisters and brothers majored in music. And it sprung from the time that we got that organ, and you had to, pedal it and up here. You know what I'm talking about. So that organ was an inspiration. But that old white woman, we called her Miss Beck. Miss Beck, she gave us that organ. And after a while, my daddy bought a piano and did away with the organ.
So most of the food that you all ate, your father grew it.
Yeah,
right there.
All of it.
What kind of things did he grow?
Potatoes, peas, corn, peanuts, carrots, cabbage, turnip, kale, all squash, you name it. It was grown there on the farm.
So you guys ate a lot of vegetables.
We ate a lot of vegetables.
Now, where did your meats come from?
We had hogs, and had hog pens galore, and the time would come during the year when it was hog killing time. You kill the hogs, and we had a smokehouse. They knew how to cut it all like it was supposed to be cut, and would hang the meat up in the smokehouse. And the smokehouse didn't have a floor on it. The floor was, was ground, and it was left where you could make a fire down there with wood to smoke the meat. Right at the house, right on the place where the house was.
And that was one of the ways to preserve the meat.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And Mama did canning, all kind of canned, pickled beets, pickled cucumbers, just anything that was edible.
Did you all have a refrigerator or what they would call an ice box?
We had an ice box. Not early years, but as time progressed, we had a refrigerator. We got a refrigerator.
Now the ice box. How did the ice box work?
It was just a box, and they would people would come through on a truck when they'd have blocks of ice, and Daddy would buy a block of ice. Now I don't know how long that would last. I guess he'd come. The ice truck would come. He'd come, give us time for that to run. He knew what time to come back and bring some more ice.
I remember my grandmother talking about the ice box. She was like, "That's why it's called an ice box." They used to bring a block of ice.
Box, right.
But you don't know how long the block of ice.
I sure don't. I don't remember how long it lasted. But the man that delivered it, he had a route. He just like the mailman. He knew when to come back. And when he came back, it may was out, but it was just time for him to come back to bring some more ice. And he brought the ice.
Now, what things did you keep in the ice box? Do you remember?
Well, not much. Not much. Maybe it's something that was cooked and needed to go in the ice box, because it didn't last long in the ice box with all the children. It was eaten up. It was eaten. And it wasn't like they put like you put chicken and stuff. Now you cut it up and put it in the ice box. That didn't happen. It didn't happen like that. The chicken was fresh. Whatever chicken we had was fresh.
So most of the things that, like you said, hog killing time, most of the things that were killed were consumed pretty quickly.
Right.
So they wouldn't spoil.
No, it wouldn't spoil.
That waste not, want not.
Right.
Okay. Next question. How have race relations changed over the years of your life?
Race relations, now so far as I'm able to discern race relations, it was just one thing when I lived there, those 19, 18, 20, I was 23 when I married. It was just black folks over here and white folks over here, and you knew how far to go, and they didn't, they didn't infringe on you. But now I hear that it's, those times are getting better. Now me and Arthurine Lucy, who went to the University of Alabama and got kicked out, you know about that story. We were born in the same community. We went to the same church. Her father was the superintendent of our Sunday school. Her oldest sister was my first Sunday school teacher. You remember the bit about Arthurine Lucy? That's the girl that went to the University of Alabama back some, how many years ago it's been, and she couldn't go. She stayed there 3 years and 3 days in the Ku Klux Klan. It was dangerous to her health for her to stay there, so they dismissed her. She couldn't finish, but she went back this year for the graduation, and she was 89 years old. They gave her a degree, a certificate, and her picture was in the paper. Arthurine Lucy will always be remembered. She's from the same community from where I came from. Went to the same church, same primitive Baptist church, foot washing church, where you wash feet on a certain Sunday in the year. All those kinds of things. We found out some of those things were not biblical. You didn't have to do that. That was just a suggestion. And that came about because there were better teachers, even Bible teachers, better Bible teachers then evolved as the days went by, as the years went by.
So overall, you think race relations have improved?
Oh, they have, definitely. They have improved.
Okay. Another question. How old did your parents live to be?
My mother died at the age of 66, and she was talking just like I'm sitting here talking, and just stopped talking. But she had a stroke. She had a stroke. She was 66. My father lived till he was 82. He had a lot of things going on with him. I was looking at the death certificate, so he had a stroke too. At 82, he lived a long time.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
It was 9 boys, and it was 7 girls, 6 sisters. I made 7. And I'm girl number 6. One girl, the baby girl, was younger than me. She died. And I'm girl number 6, and all the rest of them were older than, that. And all of the boys, except one, was older than me.
Hmm. Did anybody live to be older than you or as old as you?
Yeah, and I had some brothers that lived to be 93. My the oldest brother that lived was 93.
Okay. Um, what type of exercises and activities do you do?
I do all of the activities and exercises that I'm advised to do by my doctor, and my exercise that I exercise every day. I walk as many miles as the doctor suggests me to walk, many minutes. But I can't do it as well because now, if he tells me to walk a mile, I walk, but I have to stop and rest. I'm not gonna. I don't pretend that I can do now just what I can't do it.
So on the daily, do you walk a mile?
Oh yeah.
Every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Every day.
And how long have you been doing that?
Oh, I've been doing that as long as I can remember. I've done more. I was doing more than that because I used to walk all over this town, all over Evergreen. And one day the man was cutting my grass, and the door came open at the garage, and my car was on. He said, "Miss Williams, can you drive?" I said, "Yeah, I can drive." I said, "Why you ask me that?" He said, "Every time I see you, you be walking." So I walk all over. I can walk. I can really walk.
So in your prime, what would you say the longest distance that you used to walk?
Walk to school. I was in my prime then. That was I'd say 5 miles a day, 2.5 miles there, and 2.5 miles back. And we couldn't ride. We were black, and the white bus would pass us. And pass us walking.
So the bus would not. You couldn't ride the bus to school.
So the white folks rode the bus, and that bus would pass us on that muddy road.
No matter what the weather was like.
No matter what the weather was like, they rode the bus, and we walked.
Even if it was raining.
Even if it rained and if we went to school, we walked. But on bad days, we stayed home, didn't go, because we didn't have nowhere to go except to go in the rain.
Right.
And we were knowledgeable then, and we passed a bunch of all the black children walking together. There was one girl walking with us, and she had a book satchel. Her book satchel was homemade. She took that book satchel off and slammed that bus as it passed us. And that's been so long ago, but you see then how we knew that we were treated differently. And the man stopped the bus and got in behind us, and we took off across the field. So he went back and got in the bus and went on about his business, delivering those white children to their homes. Oh. That's why Mama sent me to Selma, because we didn't have anywhere for us to go after you got to the 10th, 9th grade. And the people that didn't go to school, they stayed there. But now they have an A1 high school, Marengo High School at Dixonville, right there, with everything.
So you got sent. So in Marengo, 9th grade was the highest grade.
Yeah.
For everybody or just for black?
No, it was for high school. The high school, those children rode the bus. That was a high school guy at Dixonville for them.
Okay.
But we couldn't go through it.
So they was going to high school. 10th, 11th,
yeah,
12th?
And 12. And graduating from high school.
And you all only got to go to the 9th grade.
Right. If we wanted to go somewhere else, we were sent other places.
In the 9th grade, that was the colored school?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the colored school.
Okay. Then you went to Selma.
I went to Selma.
To high school.
Right.
Now, what year did you get to Selma?
I believe I went to Selma in 1944, maybe. 44, 45.
Okay. So, did you get an opportunity because Selma, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, was a big incident in Black history.
Yeah.
So, what was the atmosphere like when you were in Selma?
The atmosphere in Selma was just like the atmosphere in Dixon Hill. You just knew where to go. You knew where to go and where not to go. And if you went to, if on a Saturday, the matron would see how many girls could go to town and had some money to go to town, and we were chaperoned to town, and the downtown ended right at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and right at the bridge is right there. So we always did look at the Edmund Pettus Bridge, but we didn't have any reason to try to go over the Edmund Pettus Bridge because we were walking, and you could walk over there, but we never ever did go there. Mm-hmm. We went to church on a Sunday.
Now, you said you knew where to go and where not to go. Were there any stories that you remember coming up that were the justification for why you knew not to go here or there? I remember there was a bombing in Birmingham.
Yeah.
I remember my grandparents, my mother, she speaks about one of her uncles who was hanged.
Yeah.
So did you have any examples like that?
No, not in the community, not where I don't know of any really, horrible kinds of things like that happening. And I just believe people weren't as brave then as they are. Some of them were, but they didn't venture that far, and nothing like that went on. Nothing like that went on. It's just a matter like this is your place, and you know how far to go, and and our parents told us to do what they say do. They tell you to just do what the law was and what the rules were, and we didn't break the rules because we wanted things to be well with us.
Right. All right, next question. Are you a member of any social organizations, card clubs, book clubs, church organizations?
Yeah, I'm active in the First Baptist Church of Evergreen. I teach Sunday school, and there are other things I do. Missionary Society person, and I have some in the choir, and I'm a member of the NAACP. I'm a member of all of those organizations that they ask you to belong to, and of that. And when I was in college, I pledged for sorority, AKA, but it cost money to be in a sorority in college, and it was best mama and daddy could do was to send me to college. I didn't function in there long, but I was initiated into AKA at Alabama A&M, and well, that was about as far as that went.
So you did get initiated into AKA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to have a say grade point average to do that. Mm-hmm.
Next question. We talked about your physical exercise. What spiritual exercises do you engage in?
Oh, shout at church, do the holy dance at church, say amen to the preacher when you hear when you hear Bible reader and know the word, just respond. Anyway, stand up and clap.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All those kind of things.
Okay. Do you have a daily routine that you follow as it relates to your keeping your spiritual fitness? We'll say,
oh yeah, I have a devotional that I do in the morning when I wake up. Consists of prayer, Bible reading. I have a quiet time called a quiet time with the Lord when I read the book and do my references, read my references and my comments that writers of the Bible have done, and see how it, jam with what the old biblical writers did. And I do align my life along the line that are recommended there, because they are people that have lived long. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all of them lived. Some of them lived during the years that the Lord lived, and they have the last word, and they taught. And we have their writings that are available for us. And I buy good books. I buy a good book when I don't have anything to pay for my lunch. but I'll buy a good book and read it. So that's how I manage to get along, and I do quite well. I think I'm doing well.
Okay. What's your favorite quote, scripture, or whatever to live by?
Well, I can think of one right now. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, to me, that's a good one, but there are so many. Treat other people like you would like for other people to treat you. If you would like to stab somebody in the back, don't you stab anybody back. Do bad things to them. Like I'm sitting up here talking to you, and you go leave, and I start talking ugly about you. That's what we call stabbing in the back now. You know, summed up, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. That's just one. That's just one.
Okay. Next question. Who were the most influential people in your life?
I would say my parents. They were the most influential people in my life because they set the rules, and I figured then that those were the best kinds of things because they loved me and they wanted me to do the best and wanted me to experience the best. So I believe they had the greatest influence on my life, early life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now we talked about some good times. What were some of the most difficult times that you experienced in your life?
Oh, those were a whole bunch of them. Well, the most difficult time in my life, I believe, was during the years after my husband passed away. Because I married a man. I know that he loved me, and I was his world, and I didn't have anything to do, during the, see how many years, it was 49 years. I didn't have anything to do. Just whatever had to be done with it, cook, clean, or whatever. He did it, and he could do it well, and he didn't mind doing it, and I didn't have to do it unless I wanted to. So that was about the most difficult time in my life, when I had to step up and take over all the financial business, everything. I had that to assume. But I did it. And I think I did it well now that I look back. But those were some tough years. And it's tough right now. This season of the year is tough. Because now he wouldn't be sitting here if he was alive, because everything would have been done. And when he gets everything done, he would hit the road. We would have to be going somewhere, driving. So this is about the most difficult time, even now.
Going back in the day, what were popular jobs for blacks back in the day?
Well, when I had a brother, there was a newspaper called the Grit newspaper. I know you don't know your parents probably. He sold the Grit newspaper. That newspaper was sent to him. I think it must have been published in Chicago. And Mama had made him a little bag to put round those papers up. And he had people that would buy that paper, maybe for a dime. I had my brother to sell Grit newspapers. And my daddy didn't have sophisticated farm equipment. He had horses and, cows and things to pull those plow stock. And he has let boys plow for Mr. Jones or Mr. Hill. Just be his. He'd get up and go to field at a white man's house, and just plow on his farm, because Daddy could do without him because he had 8 other brothers who could do, under their farm. That was the only thing. That was about the only thing.
So jobs for blacks weren't really, there weren't that many opportunities.
Didn't exist as such, Now, we were rural. We lived out in the country. I don't know, in London was the county seat. That was where the Abernathy's are from. I don't know what went on around there, but I would say nothing except go to field. They would have places where you come to town and they have a bench. They would have a bench out there. And if you wanted to be hired out, you in the morning, you go and sit on that bench, and a white man come by and wanted somebody to work, and just stop and pick you up and carry on and let you work on the farm or do whatever was to be done. That's my knowledge of it. It just wasn't no job. It wasn't any job.
So it wasn't because of intelligence, it was more opportunities weren't afforded to you all.
Right. No, it wasn't afforded.
How do you think, were there many businesses in the black community back then? Mm. How do you think integration and segregation, once integration, did things get better after integration?
It got better. There was hatred on the part of white folks, or some white folks. They just didn't get into it. But we survived it. Survived whatever.
Okay. A couple more questions. I think we're down to the last two. What events have occurred that you thought you would never see in your lifetime? What events or inventions have...
When I went to Mississippi, integration, and it was all over. I never thought that I would walk in the classroom and have white children, in the classroom to be taught. That's why when I went to Mississippi, I was just 15 minutes, I guess 20 minutes from Mobile. I went to University of South Alabama and got my master's degree in education. And I really got prepared, to teach. And what I taught, it did the white children as much good as it was, such that they could profit by it if it was taught. And I was rated an excellent teacher by a white supervisor. A white woman was my supervisor. And when she observed my class, I wish you could see some of she would have to do a write-up on what she observed in my class. And some of the most complimentary things she said, I didn't think a white woman would ever say anything as complimentary as the things she would say about me when she observed my classroom. I just didn't think that would happen. And that was Mississippi. All
right. All right, last one. What's your message for future generations? What advice would you give future generations?
Seek the Lord while he may be found, and lean not unto your own understanding, but follow the command that we're given in the Holy Bible. And there are 66 books in the Bible. And if you're a Bible reader, if you read those 66 books through, I don't care what kind of problem you face in life, you would find the answer that Jesus gives, that you can take that advice and you can make it. And that takes study, it takes prayer, Bible reading, and prayer to reach that kind of notion. So the Bible has the answer to all the problems you'll ever face. But you've got to read it. You've got to meditate on it. You've got to pray about it. The answer's in there.
Any other words or stories that you want to share?
Stories that I want to share. Let's see. Except do the things that you would like to be doing if the Lord should come and call you today. Don't be doing anything that you wouldn't like for them to see you doing. And he sees anyway when you don't see him. He sees us all the time. That's about it. That's about it. Bible is full of information that you got to study to approve yourself a workman that needeth not be ashamed. And you don't have to be ashamed. You know what the book says.
All right. And I'm going to throw one last thing in there. We all have to leave, and they say everybody has a purpose. What would you want future generations to remember about you?
I would want generations to remember that I'm a child, I'm a king, and even so, I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I want that to be remembered. I'm not perfect. I'm going toward perfection. One day I will reach perfection, but not here. I won't be perfect here. That's what I'm living for. And I want generations that follow me, who know about me, to know that that was my drive, that was my objective, to do the things that would elevate me someday to a state of perfection.